Beautiful day out here in California. We are at the Golden One Center in Sacramento, tipping off our doubleheader tonight in the Sweet 16 with UCLA and Minnesota as we check out tonight's starting lineup. Brought to you by Capital One. Battle is the leading scorer, all five in double digits. Braun and Gracholski are the shooters. They only made 4 triples in the regular season loss to UCLA. They're going to have to probably drop double digits from downtown to hang with the Bruins tonight. Lauren Betts, the All-American center, set to jump it up against Sophie Hart. Hart, one of 4 Minnesotans in the starting lineup. And Betts will tip it to Kiki Rice. All seniors and grad students starting out for UCLA tonight.
With big game experience from last year's Final Four and their 27 wins in a row coming into the Sweet 16.
That is the most in a single season in UCLA history. They're in their home whites. Minnesota will push the other way, and a turnover. Neepkins to Kiki Rice. 1-on-3. She'll take it for the left-handed layup and miss it.
Couple of things I'm looking for early, Beth. Minnesota, protect inside out and get UCLA in rotation by moving the ball. And for UCLA, they got to establish their interior game, and they have to score in transition.
2 takeaways early on for UCLA. The Capital One starting lineup for the champions out of the Big Ten Conference. And a nice wraparound underneath by Charlize Ledger-Walker. She's essentially one of 2 point guards. Kiki Rice and her can both play it out on the perimeter.
Lead guards, Beth.
Yep.
Lead guards. That's the term Corey Close used with us yesterday.
Kiki's got over 1,500 points and 500 assists in her 4-year career in Westwood. Battle drops it off for Hart.
Now, Sophie Hart's not a threat from there. She's made 1 shot outside the paint all season. 1.
Shot clock winding down and scooped up and in by Mara Braun, who wanted a foul on Betts.
Yeah, that's why I say Minnesota has to move the ball, get UCLA in rotation. They have 5 players on the floor right now that can score, and almost 60% of their baskets are assisted.
Betts on the pick and roll, and Lauren scores in the lane. Pace is going to be the other critical thing here. UCLA likes a lot of possessions. They can score in the 80s. Minnesota would prefer one in the 50s today.
I remember these teams met earlier this year, a UCLA win, and that was one of the keys to your point. 22% of the possessions for UCLA were in transition against Minnesota. They got to build a wall against Corey Close's team.
Now in her 15th season, a return to the Final Four. It was the first time since the NCAA tournament started 44 years ago. Of course, UCLA has a national championship back in the 1970s during the AIAW days. Mid-range is good from Battle, the senior out of Hopkins, Minnesota, and a former teammate in high school of one Paige Beckers. Ledger-Walker, hard off the back iron. Battle's pass deflected, and that's already 3 UCLA steals. Betts in the trail, rattles one home.
Yeah, you let Betts take that shot. She is capable, but your percentages are better defensively, and this will be a very personnel-based defensive scout by Dawn Plitzelwhite, the head coach from Minnesota.
Off the bounce. Gracholski tried to muscle it up and in, and she's going to be whistled for an over the back. Dawn Plitzelwhite in her 3rd season, a terrific story, has moved up through the ranks, Debbie. Head coach on 3 previous occasions, and also a Division II championship winning coach at Grand Valley State.
Ironically, her daughter will be playing for the national championship D2, Grand Valley State starting point guard. Her name is Lexi. And when you talk to Coach Plitzelwhite about it, her face lights up.
She would get bragging rights, Debbie. That would be her 2nd. Rice looking for Betts, knocked away by Minnesota. They have been hanging their hat all year long, Debbie, on their defense.
Well, they're
very stingy.
Gap protect, long in the passing lanes, really good at stunting and recovering.
Finau Tonga off the bench. Betts turns her away. Braun will pull up. And there is Angela Dugalic with the rebound.
You know you can't over-penetrate with Betts in the paint.
Jaquez on the drive. Rebounds her own miss in traffic. No reset out top. Rice giving up a 3 to take a 2.
Good D inside. Amaya battle at the rim, denying Kiki Rice.
Their scoring defense this year, under 60 points per game, the best they've had in 20 years. A Big Ten fourth place finish surprised a lot of folks, not themselves. They weren't even ranked nationally until mid-February this year.
And they were inside the top 10 in the net before they got ranked.
Of course, the Big Ten sent 12 teams to the tournament. Rice, nice dish, but a missed layup by Dugalic and a foul on Jaquez. For the Golden Gophers, 12-2 since the middle of the season. Really got it cranked up. They changed their preparation. They got Tori McKinney healthy. That was a big deal. And now back in the Sweet 16 for the first time since 2005. Of course, their lone Final Four appearance was the year before that in 04 with Lindsay Whalen and Janelle McCarville.
Pam Borton, the head coach of that group.
Hart rejected by Betts.
You know what, it's okay, because they have to play to and through the post to be able to set up some of their perimeter shooting and to get UCLA playing against closeouts. Hey, this is a team that can put it on the bounce, with Sophie Hart doing a good job of challenging, and Lauren Betts is an incredible eraser at the rim.
Likely to be a finalist for National Defensive Player of the Year honors, which, based on what we've seen recently, will probably go to Hannah Hidalgo of Notre Dame.
I don't see how it doesn't go to Hannah Hidalgo. What an incredible performance by her and Notre Dame earlier today to advance to the Elite Eight.
Almost a quadruple double.
Well, I've been saying about Hannah Hidalgo since early February. You know, can she do what Caitlin Clark did in taking a team deep into the NCAA tournament with one other pro, and she's been doing it so far.
We'll take a timeout. The officials checking something out at the scorer's table. Back to Sacto in a moment. Well, the top 6 for UCLA all will be headed on their way after the season. So they are playing with a sense of urgency this year and have been tremendously successful in doing so. One win away from matching their school record wins from a year ago, trying to get back to the Final Four for the second year in a go. And they, of course, are the #1 seed in this region. And a lot of folks, Debbie, think just one of a handful of threats to try and unseat UConn. And here's what you need to know about this senior class. Over 20 years of college basketball, nearly 700 games, with over 9,000 points scored collectively.
This is an old, veteran, experienced group. Has been challenged through what some call one of the best conferences in the Big Ten, with 12 teams getting into the NCAA.
That's tonight's Need to Know, brought to you by Intuit QuickBooks.
Of course, we can't talk about the history of UCLA, Beth, without mentioning the great Annie Myers and Denise Curry, just to mention a few.
Played for that 1978 national championship team. Shot clock violation here on Minnesota. And Sienna Betts will now check in to replace her older sister, Lauren Betts. Sienna, a 6'4" freshman out of Centennial, Colorado, the #2 rated recruit by ESPN Hoop Girls. Had a double-double, first of her career in their first-round win over Cal Baptist. And a foul called on Minnesota, and that is our media break. And get ready, folks, because when we come back, Jazz Sims is covering the blanket lady from Minnesota.
At 81 years old, Elvira Newman, a.k.a. Peps, is still driving 60 miles to every Gophers women's basketball home game with her blanket in hand. And guess what, y'all? She's here today. She got the name Blanket Lady because a fan once handed her former teammate and friend Vicky a blanket, and she loved it, and so she started running, and the crowd went wild. But what most people don't know is that long before the blanket, she was a pioneer and played basketball before women were even allowed. She started a barnstorming team, and today, officially, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz declared the official Blanket Lady Day in her honor. Now, Beth, she might not have her jersey in the rafters, but you might ask the fans, and maybe the blanket will be up there.
I think that might be up there one day. Thanks, Jess.
How cool is that? For the love of the game.
How about the Minnesota fan base, by the way? They had over 10,000 people in the first round and then squeezed in a couple of more in Minneapolis. Had over 10,000 at their second round home game in the buzzer beater against Ole Miss. And of course, 8 of their 14 are from in-state. And Dawn Plitzowite will not only be adding the Minnesota High School Player of the Year next season, but their class includes the Wisconsin Player of the Year and the Nebraska Player of the Year as well. Sienna Betts able to tip it to herself, and Sienna will get a trip to the free throw line here for UCLA.
And one of the things Corey Close talked about was situational offense with us yesterday. Tony Noonan on her staff is responsible for situations, any dead ball situation, out of bounds, baseline out of bounds, jump balls, after timeouts, late game, late clock. She's assigned him that responsibility. And that was really good execution right there to follow up with the offensive rebound.
Yeah, they have not lost. In fact, their only loss back on November 26th to Texas. They had by far the best resume when you talk about quad one wins and net and all that stuff coming into this NCAA tournament. Their most prolific regular season in history, and how will they cap it off? And a foul going to be called here. And if that's on Kiki Rice, that's 2.
Yeah, you had a great trap. You had her under duress. They're too experienced to commit that foul right there. Plus, the 10-second shot clock in the backcourt is running. Now they got a fresh 10.
They have actually taken that and given that foul to Dugalich.
Look at Tonga pointing, wanting the ball inside.
See if they can take advantage of some paint points without Lauren Betts in the game.
And you got to knock down that open 15-footer. 2 hard dribbles off the screen to the nail area.
Gianna Neepkins, one of the best portal pickups, gets the assist there to Dugalich.
And then you miss the easy 15-footer, and UCLA is coming right back down quickly in their transition game.
Knocked loose by Dugalich. Rice gets to the middle. She'll take it and draw the foul. And more free throws coming here for UCLA. They have set a new school record in points per game, in field goal percentage, as well as right here at the free throw line, best shooting percentage in school history. Kiki hits at 90%.
She's an excellent free throw shooter. She has really improved her game over her 4 years at UCLA. Leads the team in assists, has a 2.8 assist turnover ratio. That means at the pace they play, she's making decisions at a very high rate of speed. That is excellent. That it will transfer to the WNBA.
Fouls on Tori McKinney, by the way, her first. UCLA, Debbie, possibly 4 players that could be on a WNBA roster next year?
I can see 4 getting
this
drafted.
coming year? Yeah, maybe more with the expansion in the league. Graholski on the drive, goes with the left hand for 2.
If you watch Minnesota, their fundamentals and habits are outstanding. They play the game low to high. They don't put the ball over their head. They're looking to make the next pass. They've got great trust on the floor and moving the ball.
Wide open inside, and it's another missed layup for Dugalich. And this will go to Minnesota. The other thing that you may have noticed following Minnesota the second half of the season, the players unanimously told us yesterday, they're having a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And that's been one of the keys to their second half streak.
They used the word joy. That was part of the reason why they went on this little bit of run that they went on in mid-February where they won 9 in a row. That's a great attack of a closeout right there. Get your defender leaning just a little bit, finishing with your offhand. Nice take off the bounce.
That foul is on Sienna Betts. On the inbound, Braun can't knock it down. She and Graholski are their three-point sharpshooters. Dugalich calling for it. And knocks that down.
So that high-low game for UCLA is really challenging to defend because it's hard to bring help down the middle third when you can go from the top of the floor right to the rim.
Establishing their size, they've already got 8 of their 12 points in the paint here in the first quarter.
Tonga really battling for position inside, trying to leverage Betts.
Off the drive with 5 on the shot clock. They got to hustle one up, and it's blocked. Stuffed by Neepkins. The transfer from Utah.
Really good D.
Hawkes with the jump stop and dragged that pivot foot.
Dawn Plitzer-White's team has done a really good job all season between Hart and Tonga rotating those two players. They both are paint producing back to the basket post players, but they also read and can pass.
3 consecutive 20-win seasons for Dawn, getting Minnesota back to a position of prominence nationally.
You're going to have to hit those mid-range jumpers when you go naked side or open side 2-man game. Betts is going to be in drop coverage.
Ledger Walker leaves it off for Hawkes with the nice step through and the lay-in. Weapons at all 5 spots on the floor, and they can all get to the rim. Minnesota counters. There's a Maya battle.
You can see Dawn Plitzer-White's team is really concentrated on not over-penetrating when number big 5'1" is on the floor.
Staying away from the shot blocker, and that's knocked out of bounds by Minnesota. How about Hawkes enjoying a career year in her final campaign?
Look at the balance, the focus on the finish, the step through and around, and then battle a little crossover. There's Betts. You better pull up and shoot it, because if you go any deeper with one more dribble, she's going to block it.
She's played over 130 games in a Minnesota jersey, with Hawkes on the other side over 140 games at UCLA. There's a ton of experience out here for both these clubs.
You know, right now this tempo is Minnesota tempo.
Yes, it is.
Even though they trail by 2 possessions.
Rice stepping away from the defender and hitting. A little reminiscent of our last game with North Carolina able to hang around early on against the 1-seed UConn in Fort Worth.
I like a player that can make the defense wrong. No matter what you bring to Kiki Rice, she can create separation.
Glenn, again, not over-penetrating and getting into Lauren Betts.
Simple ball screen coverage.
Lob over the top and 1 for the Bruins.
If you don't get better pressure on the passer and meet Lauren Betts higher up the lane, you got to divert her ability to run to the rim. At 6'7", she catches that deep, forget about it. You got no chance.
Total package for the big girl, the top passing center statistically in the country. She's close to 1,000 career rebounds, already over 1,800 points, and of course a shot blocker as well.
That's the part of her game that I really respect and appreciate, is her willingness to pass it. You know, she gets doubled, she gets pushed, she tries to work for deep position, but if it's not available, she's not taking bad shots in the paint.
Has gotten stronger both mentally and physically. And she went public with her trials off the court recently. And very inspirational to her teammates and to college basketball fans. Pull up, won't go. Dugalich has it. Time for UCLA if they push. Rice off the bounce, gets to the rim, and misses another layup for UCLA. But they have the 8-point lead through one. The NCAA Women's Championship is presented by Capital One. What's in your wallet? The Sweet 16 is presented by Coca-Cola. Fan work is thirsty work. Thank you very much, Jess. And oh, by the way, she is the conductor of their orchestra, which has been a big theme throughout the season. Isn't that right, Jess?
It sure is, Beth. Orchestrating excellence. I absolutely love this graphic. I just love how every piece fits into the puzzle, and that's exactly what they've been doing this whole season. So coach every single game presents sheet music or another piece of the puzzle. Every instrument, as you can see in this diorama, which someone on staff made, which as a former teacher, I'm obsessed with this. And then over Christmas break, they did the Minnesota Orchestra, and it's just something about we all bring something different to the puzzle, and we're all very important to this orchestra, and it's all about the harmony. And so since being in the tournament, they've added pieces, the overture, and then they had Presto. And today, Beth, is Fortissimo.
Oh, Fortissimo means make a little noise,
yeah,
Debbie.
Be loud.
Make a lot of noise if they can take out a 1 seed. And
a splash is pretty loud.
It sure is. Grace Kraholski out of North Prairie, Wisconsin, had a career-high 9 triples in a 31-point game against Maryland during the regular season.
Well, this is what you want off an ATO, and after timeout. Look at the ball movement, look at the player movement, and then you get a wide-open Graholski doing a nice job making the first 3 for Minnesota in the game.
It was an 18-point win during the regular season for UCLA in Minneapolis back in January. UCLA shot 60%, but Minnesota starting out much better defensively and contesting shots inside and out. Dugalich, offensive rebound, that's up and in.
Yeah, there's the size advantage on the glass. 5 offensive rebounds in the game for UCLA.
Bruins, of course, with Betts at 6'7". Dugalich at 6'4". Here comes Jaquez with the push.
You can see Corey Close's team off the quarter break is trying to play a little faster in their cadence. Not just 94 feet, but in their cadence in the quarter court as well.
Ledger Walker off the mark. And then Charlize gets the pick. Misses another layup. They are 6 of 15 to start out this game at the rim.
Just because UCLA is playing faster doesn't mean Minnesota picks up their pace, right? They've got to stay solid in what they do well.
The slowest paced team in the Sweet 16, but successful because they can be so efficient running their half-court sets, hitting the glass. Graholski gets him a 3rd chance here. Hart, Betts defending, got it.
Yeah, she has to be a threat. Can't just play to her or through her. You got to make sure she's productive in a way that puts a little pressure on Betts at the rim.
Minnesota winning the first few minutes of this second quarter. Betts spins to her left, around and out. Another offensive rebound. Ledger Walker wide open, can't hit it.
Offensive rebounding. Look at Dugalich carve out a little space right there. Use her length, tap it to herself. 6 5 offensive rebounds, and then Hart right here going right at Betts, the shot blocker. You got to get a little contact in the chest and then finish, go rim, body, ball. That's exactly what Hart does at the rim. Bury Betts in the cylinder.
Chance to make this a one-possession game. Backdoor, and a little too far out of the reach for Braun. Kiki Rice. This is UCLA's game. Push, find a shooter in transition, get a touch in the paint. Nice feed, Ledger Walker. She's one of 4 Bruins with over 100 assists on the season, and their assist rate is close to 70% on the year. Building a wall is Betts on that drive, so now Hart will try and go to work. The kick out, McKinney, got it. She did not play in the regular season matchup, was out with concussion protocol. You see she wears the Q collar in games. She could be a difference maker at 6'1" on the perimeter tonight. Doubling down, Dugalich spins away from it and scores. A member of the Serbian national team. She's got double figures to lead all scorers.
Minnesota goes to their horns. Shooters in the corner, trying to run some action in the middle third.
There's Betts to clean it up in the back. 10 on the shot clock.
Terrific job right here. Watch the push, wide open over here, and then you're going to see to the rim. So look where Minnesota's defense is. They're all at the level of the ball. The back of the lane is wide open. It's an excellent job of running the floor hard. And then Dugalich just really making the most of her minutes off the bench, playing her role and being a star in her role.
138th game for her. Started out her freshman year at Oregon. 4 transfers have been integral parts of their success the last few years. And there's Briley Glenn, the grad student out of Kansas City.
Beth, the Minnesota shot chart is in the middle third between the elbows right now. They are doing an excellent job of not over-penetrating, pulling up and hitting some mid-range shots.
Shooting 50% here in the second quarter. Off the crossover, Neepkins.
Look at Braun playing good D, moving her feet.
And a 3-second violation.
That's all Mara Braun. D'ing up off the penetration.
Corey Close doesn't agree. Back-to-back 30-win seasons, trying to return to the Final Four for the 2nd year in a row.
Coach of the year in the Big Ten this year. Got the switch that you want. Now you got Betts on a perimeter player. Pull her away from the bucket. Keep her out. Keep her out of the bucket, or out of their lane.
Instead, they turn it over. Look at Lauren run the floor. Big girl gets the lay-in. She's got 8.
Doesn't take her many steps once past midcourt.
She got down there in a hurry. McKinney bumped and a foul on UCLA, up 6. The NCAA Women's Championship, presented by Capital One on ESPN, is brought to you by State Farm. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Send it back down to Muffet McGraw's friends. Beth, Debbie, and Jess, you guys.
Beth was her friend. I didn't know Beth was her friend, too.
We're in the friend circle. We're in the club. Here's your game summary right now. Dominant performance by UCLA in the paint. Dugalich just became the 6th Bruin with 1,000 career points. But the story right now, as the ladies were just talking about, is this second quarter comeback for Minnesota.
Minnesota with 3 triples in the second quarter. 2 of them off their timeout plays. There's the double.
One-possession game. They double down on Betts. Make her give it up. Rice kicks it out to the corner. Jaquez, no. comes Battle.
Look at this, naked side, open side, two-man game, and she picks up her dribble. I'll tell you what, Tonga and Hart are excellent screeners.
Off the bounce, McKinney. A little bothered on that shot by Betts. Neepkins, nice hesitation.
Trying to protect inside out, Beth, trying to protect inside out.
There's a touch for Betts.
Showing a hedge in the slot.
Hedge by Tonga. Ledger Walker on the drive. Gave up baseline. Charlize, who didn't play last year, was out injured after transferring from Washington State. And the Kiwi, who's got over 2,000 career points. A different role for her at UCLA, and she's embraced it as a playmaker as well as a scorer.
That's a terrible pass to the post. This is just a great inbound pass and play, and it's a scouted triple off the timeout. Ledger Walker doing a nice job. She's had a couple of buckets on the baseline tonight.
Nine Minnesota turnovers. They're almost at their game average. They're one of the best in the country at ball security. That's 1v1.
Minnesota making her catch it outside the paint.
5 on the shot clock. Rice will create short.
How about Battle's defense right there? High hands on the catch.
Hart. Betts, foul. Her first. So Sophie Hart will head to the free throw line, trying to get back to the Elite Eight for the first time since 2004, when they shocked the basketball world as a 7 seed. Beat a 1 seed, a 2 seed, and a 3 seed under Pam Borton to get to their one and only Final Four. And now Dawn Plitzowite trying to return them to the glory days of yore.
Well, Plitzowite's team is loose. We talked to Corey Close about this yesterday, playing not to make a mistake. They've got to play free, and they don't look like they're in a very good rhythm right now, and you can give Minnesota some credit for that.
UCLA has not been involved in many close games this year. In fact, just 2, as Neepkins tries for 3.
That is a tough shot behind the screen, and what a great job on the weak side by Hart.
And look at this for Minnesota, 3 away from tying this thing up. They've trailed by as many as 8. They have controlled the pace tonight. And Battle was out of bounds.
See, that's a contested mid-range jumper on a single side offensively. Minnesota has got to make UCLA rotate. Get them in a closeout. Make them guard off the bounce.
Final 2 minutes of the first half. In our first Sweet 16 game of the night coming up, LSU and Duke, the 2-3 matchup. There's Lauren Betts. She's got 10.
She's going to make some of those. All right, that's okay. You got to keep battling. Got to have pressure on the passer. She caught that ball with 1 foot in the paint. You got to get her outside the paint. Both feet.
Shooting 71% through the first 2 rounds, which included a career-high 35-point night. Hart going to work on her inside.
How about Sophie Hart, the 6'5" grad student, getting over that left shoulder on the 6'7" shot blocker.
Out of Farmington, Minnesota. Came back home after starting her career at NC State. And the counter from UCLA.
You got to have more help on that if you're Minnesota. That's a great drive down the lane line by Kiki Rice. That's a straight line drive.
She's got 6, going along with a couple of assists, and we are in the final minute of this first half. For a spot in the Elite Eight. Hart, oh, she's playing with some confidence now. Braun, mid-range, good. They are outscoring UCLA here in this second quarter.
High ball screen coming.
Neepkins will set it for Char. Neepkins circles back around to get it, loses a defender and scores to beat the buzzer. Good finish for the Bruins, and they will take a 34-29 lead into the locker room.
This is just a great job right here, moving without the ball. Glenn takes the wrong angle, and Neepkins drives it, puts it off the glass to give UCLA a 5-point lead here at the break.
Coca-Cola, and we've got a good one as we get set to start this second half. 34-29, UCLA with the lead over Minnesota, but that first half pace definitely wearing a golden gopher hue as we get set to go here in the third. Beth Mowens, Debbie Antonelli, Jess Sims with us as well, and Minnesota doing what they need to do to hang around.
I mean, they've controlled the tempo. They've been able to score in the mid-range. They have stayed out of foul trouble. They've played through the post to collapse the defense. I mean, I think Dawn Plitzelwhite's got to be pleased with the way her team has put it together in the first 20.
How about some first half highlights? Our court coverage brought to you by Geico.
Well, this is what I'm talking about in the mid-range. Middle third ball screen, Betts in drop coverage, can't over-penetrate, stick that J from 15, get the ball to the paint, play to the other side, knock down another mid-range jumper. That's what Minnesota did to be in this game. Now on the other side, you got to have more pressure on the basketball. You got to meet Lauren Betts before she gets deep. When she gets that position, forget about it. You're not going to stop her, and you've got to be able to do a better job of putting some pressure on her. Now, Betts has one foul. She's going to be more aggressive blocking shots here in the second half, and Sophie Hart and Tonga have done an excellent job of playing on the interior.
28 points in the paint, 10 off of turnovers for UCLA. Their size advantage, Betts and Dugalich combining for 20. And 20 is the magic number. That's the minutes you need to win to get to the Elite Eight. And a matchup on Sunday against the winner of our second game here in Sacramento, LSU and Duke. They're coming up next.
The other thing too, Beth, is UCLA 0 for 6 outside the three-point line. So you start sinking and shrinking that defense around Betts, making it more difficult for UCLA to score in the paint. They're going to have to play inside out, move the ball, get to the second side, get to the third side, and knock down a triple.
Part of the plan for Dawn Plitzelwhite. Win the next 5 minutes, then take care of the next 5 minutes and make UCLA sweat in the fourth quarter. That has only happened twice all year that they've had a game that's been within a few possessions, Debbie.
Twice single-digit victories in their 27 winning streak. Ohio State, they won by 7 on the road. At Michigan on the road, they won by 3. Dawn Plitzelwhite's got her team right where she needs them to be here to put some pressure and some game duress on Corey Close's club.
Even their lone loss to Texas early in the season, that was a double-digit win for the Longhorns. It's been a dominant showing so far for the #1 seeds. Their average margin of victory through the first 2 rounds was over 40 points per game. Shot clock is down to 5. Gracholski gets it into Hart, gotta hurry. Good double team by UCLA. And it's out of bounds. It appeared before the shot clock violation. The officials will talk about it. Lisa Jones, Maggie Timon, and Tim Daly.
It's when the ball hits out of bounds, when the clock stops.
Yes.
Sophie Hart, when she sees not Lauren Betts defensively, she's got to look to score that.
That
and
looks
yeah,
like
it's 0.6. So you got time to tap it.
No, they're going to call it a shot clock violation. Wow. So it's UCLA ball. Violet Palmer, our rules analyst, is with us. Violet?
Well, it looks like the ball going out of bounds and the shot clock went off simultaneously, which would make it a shot clock violation.
All right, thank you, Violet. She'll be with us throughout the weekend. A doubleheader tonight. 2 more games tomorrow here in Sacramento. On the other side of the bracket.
Good job walling up inside by Hart. And then you got a mismatch inside, Kiki Rice, because you push in transition off the steal.
You got Betts out of the middle right now. Braun gets into the lane and they turn it over. Ledger Walker right back to Jaquez on the 3-on-2 break. UCLA would love some more fast break points here in this second half.
That's the kind of emotional play that might get them going. You know, they need something to jumpstart their system a little bit. Got to change the rhythm of the game if you're UCLA. You can't just play one speed.
Betts able to bother the shot. 1 and done. Rice will leak out the other way. Kiki to the left side, gets the layup.
Good eyes to the rim, up the floor by Ledger Walker. It's not a hard game if you run the floor hard and wide. It's a good timeout right here by Minnesota.
Good start for the Bruins in the first couple of minutes, and they now have their largest lead of the night.
It's the tempo, Beth. Off the steal, they sprint, and they score. Back-to-back transition buckets. This is UCLA's game. Kiki Rice with a finish.
And you know it's a big game when Moki breaks out the sequins, Debbie.
It's a big game every game because Moki either has sequins, feathers, something lights up. Her shoes never light up.
No, not yet.
She got to go to the shoes next.
Well, even the other coaches, I mean, Corey Close bringing the leather pants out tonight for the Sweet 16. And they force another shot clock violation with their defense.
Yeah, I'm sure at halftime, Corey Close had something to say to her team about digging in and the process and quit worrying about the result, because those are the things she talked to us about, keeping that circle tight.
You know, when you have a lot of players back from a Final Four team last year, you have all upperclassmen, seniors and grad students. Complacency is one of your biggest opponents, right? And they have done a terrific job of staying in the present. She says, earn it, don't wish it to happen. And that is the game plan moving forward. No expectations. You got to go out and win it every night and earn it every night.
She told us that she has created an edge in practice, that she has had to level up the intangibles around the program and beat your last performance, right? So beat your last 20 minutes.
Still looking for the first three-pointer of the ball game. Off the bounce here, baseline battle, had it knocked away. Fighting for another shot, and there's Dugalich to pound it into the hardwood.
Got to stay organized if you're Minnesota.
Never touched the rim, so here comes the shot clock again. Tonga, the pick, and then the roll, and a block for Betts. Got in too deep, so here's Ledger Walker the other way, and a foul on a reach-in. Here's a swat, and another swat, Debbie.
The guards getting involved, crashing the glass, protecting inside. Doesn't matter how many times you pump fake, when they're taller, they're just taller. And that's exactly what you have when you're dealing with 6'7" Lauren Betts around the rim.
Building that wall. They have 6 blocks tonight. Ledger Walker keeping that dribble alive, trying to get Betts a touch, and now McKinney able to block her shot as we get it over to Jess Sims.
Beth, you were both talking about creating an edge, and that's exactly what Coach Close was talking to us about yesterday. And it originated because they won the Big Ten championship game by 51 points. And she said she was all over the players the next week, to the point where her leaders, Kiki and Char, said, Coach, are you stressed? Are you nervous? And she said, no, it's just human nature to take a breath and not have that edge, and it's my job to create it. And they said, Coach, you got to tell us, because we think you're stressed. And she said, okay, good point. And she said, since then, everything has changed.
Stay on them, Jess. You know you got to stay on them.
Well, this is a special group that will all go their separate ways after the season ends, and they don't want it to end yet.
This is a dangerous time right here for Minnesota. They got to get a couple stops.
Betts. Oh, what a spin at 6'7", up by the rim for the lay-in.
That was sweet.
The All-American who was invited in December to the U.S. national team camp. Wouldn't that be something if Lauren or Juju Watkins at USC could make a team that would play in Los Angeles in 2028? Tonga with an offensive rebound. Graholski for three.
You can see that UCLA has upped their level defensively. So now you got to pass fake, backdoor cut, put some other pressure on the rim besides just a back-to-the-basket post play.
That's the fourth triple for Minnesota, which matches their total in the regular season matchup.
Look at Betts right here with the spin and the drop in the bucket, literally. And then that's the poise that Minnesota needs to play with. Get back to the rhythm that got you to a two-possession halftime deficit.
They'll use the media timeout that's coming up here to get a little extra time on the side for Betts. Rice spins in the lane and misses the layup, but a foul. A dominant showing in the paint so far for UCLA. Can battle, and Minnesota hang around to force some late game pressure on the #1 seed. Weekend, LSU hoping to be there. According to our ESPN analytics, they have the second best chance, which makes sense as the 2 seed here in the region. Better than 50% for the top seed, UCLA. Keep in mind that the #1 and #2 seeds, Debbie, have won 40 of 43 national championships. It's a rarity that any outsiders break through. And 4 times in history, the Final Four has been all of the 1 seeds.
Well, the last time someone besides a 1 or 2 won it was a 3 seed LSU.
Yes,
a couple years ago. And you saw Flau'jae Johnson and Malaysia Fulwiley. You better tighten up your laces when you get ready to watch those two play.
Rice with a steal, and then lost it out of bounds. Coverage of the NCAA Men's Basketball Championship continues on CBS and TBS. For tournament game times and networks, go to NCAA.com. If you're wondering about a Cinderella story, of course, Virginia is here in Sacramento. They're playing tomorrow, a 10 seed. There has never been a double-digit seed to reach the Final Four. The highest, a shout out to Gary Blair, #9, Arkansas, last century. And Jeff Wall's Louisville club is the lowest seed to ever play in a final as a 5.
Dawn Plitzelwhite in 2022 brought a team from South Dakota to the Sweet 16.
Sweet 16, yeah. There's been some high seeds get this far. There's, on a rare occasion, a double digit getting to the Elite 8. And there is the first 3 of the ball game from Lena Bilic, the 6'3" freshman from Croatia.
No Lauren Betts on the floor. You got to attack the paint.
Missed opportunity there. And UCLA can really stretch it. Their largest lead. They'll look to build on it. Here's Betts' little sister, Sienna. They both had a double-double in their first round win. Kind of cool for sisters to do that. It's been fun over the years. You think of the McGee sisters, the Miller twins, the Burge sisters that played with Dawn Staley and Tammy Reese at Virginia. The Mabry clan at Notre Dame. Been a lot of fun watching sisters over the years. The Betts, the McGees, and Chere and Nneka Ogwumike at Stanford. The sister duos that have had a double-double in the same tournament game. Of course, the McGees were there with Cheryl Miller, back-to-back national championships for USC in the early 80s. Can the Bruins return some glory to Los Angeles hoops this year? Of course, we'll see LSU and Duke coming up next, and Kim Mulkey with 4 national championships. Only Gino and Pat have won more over the years.
Well, Kim Mulkey's the only coach in women's basketball to take 2 different programs to the national championship and win.
They've got a rematch, one of 4 Sweet 16 rematches, just like this one. They beat Duke during the regular season, but it's a whole new ball game for the Blue Devils since that December loss. Kara Lawson's club much better. Oh, more sequins out on display tonight. Hart, nice find by McKinney.
Good work, Sophie Hart really carving out space, doing her work before the ball gets inside. Now you got to get a couple of stops in a row and a couple of scores in a row.
That's a 15-5 run in this third quarter for UCLA. Rice, an ill-advised pass in traffic, gives the Gophers a chance. Braun
on target, but short.
Rice the other way, spins back to the right for the layup.
Rim body ball. Protect the ball from being blocked. Laura Braun trying to take Meekins below the level of the screen and then just rejects it and draws the foul. Kiki Rice getting a breakout right here. Eyes up. She just sets this up with an in-out move and then the spin. You got to spend a lot of time in the gym to be able to perfect a move like that. I think Minnesota's done a really good job on Kiki Rice and her ball screen decision-making. Right, with her size, they have really done a good job of, because UCLA hasn't hit a lot of threes, of really helping on those schemes.
Braun at the line. Another one of those Minnesota natives was telling us yesterday she grew up playing ball with her older brother Marcus and all of his buddies. She and Battle a part of Lindsay Whalen's last season. And when they made the coaching change, they decided to stay. It really wasn't a choice. They love Minnesota. They wanted to build something, and they've done it now in Plitzelwhite's 3rd season. Getting back to the Sweet 16 for the first time in 21 years.
Hey, that barn is a shooter's gym.
Ooh.
Look at
Shot
the
clock
collapse.
winding down.
Good
D. Minnesota trying to get back in at that end. Nice spin and the lay-in. Graholski. Roger Walker. Betts. Good interior passing and a foul.
Beth, look at all the jerseys right here. You have to have 5 bodies paying attention, and then the collapse. Look at the collapse on the double team. That is a terrific job by Minnesota, turning UCLA over for a layup on the other end. Little fistful of jersey, never hurt anybody.
Graholski got the layup, but then committed her 3rd foul down at the other end. So she checks out, and Dugalich short on her first. UCLA now just 6 of 12 at the line tonight. Missed them both badly. And Minnesota can chip away. Final 2 minutes of this third quarter.
You got to believe they got to run at them. I mean, when you win 9 in a row in the Big Ten, put yourself on the map nationally, and you do it with 5 players that can all score. You got to believe the run's coming.
Another 3 attempt that comes up short. Betts, look at her running the floor. The nice catch. Neepkins can't hit it.
Minnesota's bench wanted to travel on Betts. Looked like she might have drugged that pivot foot.
Minnesota just 3 of 13 here in this third quarter. That'll help. 3 ball from Briley Glenn. Deficit's down to 10. It's been as many as 17.
Indeed.
And they force another turnover.
I mean, for a team that likes to feed the post, they have made some errors that I wouldn't consider a 1 seed to make.
UCLA?
Yeah, I'm talking about UCLA feeding the post. Like, it's easy to throw the lob to Betts.
Chance to get it into single digits.
Snake behind that ball screen, Beth. Mid-range, you got to hit those. Battle made those in the first half, a couple of them anyway. I wouldn't overcoach it on that right there. I run the same set, just run the same thing. You're getting open looks from 15. I don't know how many better looks you can get than that.
Rice, another big hedge from Tongo. They had Betts. Kiki tries herself and draws the foul. And that's going to be number 3 now on Battle. So 2 Minnesota starters with 3 fouls heading to the fourth quarter. Kiki Rice, 4 for 4 at the line. She's only missed 14 free throws all year long. Out of Bethesda, Maryland, the Big Ten tournament most outstanding player, a 3rd-team All-American this season. That's a pair, and now Minnesota with 5 seconds to make some magic. Braun will inbound. Battle creates some space over Betts and does not get the bounce. UCLA with the lead to the fourth. The NCAA Women's Championship is presented by Capital One. What's in your wallet?
8 offensive rebounds for Minnesota. And Lauren Betts has gone to work here. 12 points and 3 boards, defending inside out. How about a little mid-range jumper?
Yeah.
And then her ability to really run to the rim is outstanding for 6'7". She makes herself available. She's got good hands and footwork. She's going to finish inside, and she is 6 for 8 from the floor.
Tonight's Players Spotlight brought to you by Hilton. And the numbers for Betts, got 3 rebounds and 3 blocks as well. 10 minutes away from the Elite 8. It would be back-to-back trips for UCLA. It would be the first in 22 years for Minnesota.
Jaquez with the ball on the baseline. Plus 17 in the game right now in the plus-minus. That's the best for UCLA. That really speaks to her ability to create winning plays that may not show up on the stat sheet.
Big difference. 17 matches their biggest lead, by the way. And Kiki Rice for 3 makes it a 15-point game.
She likes playing against Minnesota. She had 25 in the first matchup. She's got 17 here to start the fourth.
McKinney, turned away. Good interior passing, and Hart is fouled by Rice, her second.
So, Beth, when you've only hit one three-point shot, you're going to be open outside the arc. When you see all the collapse right here on the paint, worried about Betts. And this is why Betts is one of the best passing bigs, and actually the best passing big over 6'5" in the women's game.
Has over 100 on the season. Sophie Hart, 63% shooter, misses the first. It's 1 of 2. Minnesota not a team that has scored in bunches this year, so time already of the essence for them here early in the fourth. Try and get back into this against UCLA. Betts fouled by Hart. And that'll be her third. She joins Battle and Grahulski with 3.
I'm not sure who's going to need a double ice bath after going against Hart and Tonga. Is it going to be them for how they've battled Betts, or is it Betts going to need the double ice bath? That means you take 2 dips, not just one.
White's club looking for some answers. Find a way to get back in it. UCLA shot 60% in that third quarter, and Kiki Rice now has 19. Good execution for the Bruins. Winner of this one will face the winner of LSU and Duke. That one's coming up next as Betts gets her 4th block.
See the difference in pulling up at the free throw line versus pulling up from 11 or 12 feet.
Rice off the bounce. She has been difficult to contain. Neepkins crashes into the defender in an offensive foul.
Take a look at Kiki right here and watch her movement to the basketball. She's going to do a really good job playing off the screening action. 2 screens, great catch, good balance, excellent finish.
Third straight game for her in double digits in this NCAA tournament. 3 ball is good from McKinney.
We haven't really seen Minnesota try to open up the floor by picking up full court until right now. A little full court man-to-man defense. Oh boy, heads that ball screen.
Yeah.
Betts is to the rolls to the rim.
Finds another shooter, and Neepkins knocks it down. Her first of the night.
What a pass. This starting 5 for UCLA all shoot better than 50% from the floor. So when they move the ball, to Corey Close's point to Jess, they've got a lot of weapons.
UCLA will keep it.
This is the pass. Here comes the double. Betts over the top at 6'7". Second half, 9 assists on 9 made field goals for UCLA.
Wow. Assisting on 18 of 25 for the game. Led by Ledger Walker with 7 dimes.
Trying to get Neepkin set up for another triple. It's a good play call. She just hit one. And Neepkin shoots it better, almost 44% from the three-point line.
She's the best.
She's a 50-40-90.
One of the best to do it from downtown. Betts.
Yeah, now there's very little resistance by Minnesota. UCLA in rhythm, having their way. This was not the case in the first 20 minutes. Corey Close did an excellent job in the second half, getting her team refocused, playing with that edge that we were referencing earlier.
Betts defending on Hart, blocks that one out of bounds. 8th of the game for UCLA.
This is when Lauren Betts is at her best. Look at this post up right here. Handles the contact, plays through it. And then on the other end, defending Sophie Hart. Just so hard to create separation from 6'7" in the post.
She checks out, replaced by her 6'4" younger sister, Sienna. And that's the 3rd foul on Neepkins.
You know, Beth, the shot blocking ability of Lauren Betts is one of the reasons why she was Defensive Player of the Year nationally last year. And what's impressive about that is that she's never fouled out of a game. That's impressive.
Never in 170 college games for a 6'7" center. It's a great stat. Hart tries to keep her feet under her and gets that one to roll over the front of the rim. We've already seen Notre Dame and UConn advance in one of the Fort Worth regionals. And tonight we'll move 2 more into the Elite 8 here in Sacramento. 6 minutes to go for UCLA unless Minnesota can crank it up.
Good job by McKinney.
Hawkes, tough catch, and the runner is good and one.
Too much balance. Shot-making ability. Make the defense wrong. Hawkes with the runner in the lane. Beautifully done.
Inching ever closer to a 34th win of the season, which would match last year's total. They lost in the national semifinals to UConn. One of the things they made sure to tell us when we visited with them yesterday, what do we need to know? They said, we're tougher than we were a year ago. They spent a lot of time in the offseason after that disappointing loss in the national semifinals.
Well, they started in June with that mindset. They earned a 1 seed. They expected to be here.
Not only on the court, but also in the mind gymnasium, Jess Sims.
It's really everything over at UCLA, Beth. Yes, they have something called the Mind Gym that their assistant coach, Tasha Brown, leads every week, which really takes a deep dive into the mental performance aspect of the game. And Coach Close said, our self-talk is so important, and we need to talk to ourselves more than listen to ourselves. So doing the mundane things with elite consistency and not worrying about the big win and just controlling the controllables. So this week, they got to listen to Joe Mazzulo from the Celtics, but they've had Inky Johnson, they've had Mike Vrabel, and it's something that Kiki Rice said the players really love.
Jess, you always got to make your positive self-talk louder than your self-doubt.
Always. Oh, we love that, Debbie.
Go. Well, you know, it's the influence of my teammates.
Yeah.
You know, Jess, Beth, and all of our guys and team in the truck.
Our producer, Seth Miller, our director, Mike Griffin, and our entire cast of characters.
You got to do a lot of positive self-talking around this group.
Nothing wrong talking to yourself. I got a mug at home that says, I'm not talking to myself, I'm having a staff meeting. And that's all the people in my head.
I've been in your staff meetings before. Oh, nice cut.
Hawkes, yep. Kiki says 10 seconds on the shot clock. Let's roll.
She looks much more confident second half, too.
To the Leach. That one was from the logo and a shot clock violation. The officials will give them the soccer play on, and there's a foul. Yeah, the UCLA Bruins taking charge here in the second half. Kiki Rice dropping it from downtown. Rice with the rim protection. Let's take a look at tonight's Capital One rewarding performance, and it's Kiki Rice in a 19-point outing.
Off the bounce, without the ball, knocking down triples, managing the game in the second half, leading UCLA to this 17-point fourth quarter lead. 25 the first time they met. Putting another big number on the board with 19 on 10 field goal attempts.
That'd be 44 points in the 2 games against Minnesota, breaking it down by quarter. This was a close game at halftime, Debbie, and since then, UCLA shooting 70% in this second half to bust it open. And what has been a dominant showing in this tournament for all the #1 seeds. Well, for UConn, South Carolina, Texas, UCLA.
Well, for Dawn Plitzel-White, it's the right game plan. It was the perfect preparation. But you know what? UCLA is bigger and more talented at certain positions. And that doesn't take away from the incredible run that you've made to get here, or the year that you've had in the Big Ten.
That's the 4th foul on Maya Battle.
There's a lot of good teams in the Big Ten that made the NCAA tournament this year, and there's a lot of really good Big Ten teams that did not advance.
They finished 4th in the regular season this year. 12 teams to the tournament. Started out great. They went 11-1 in the first round, and then hit a rocky patch in that second round. They lost 8 teams, so 3 in the Sweet 16. They know they're going to get 1 into the Elite 8. Michigan will try and get in tomorrow. They begin our coverage on ABC at 12:30 against Louisville in a really good ACC Big Ten matchup.
A lot of publicity, and rightfully due, the sophomore class of Michigan, but do not sleep on the sophomores at Jeff Walls in Louisville. That's going to be a heck of a basketball game. That one's going down to the last possession. And Louisville's going to have to handle the Michigan press.
Hawkeyes, that one won't go. Dugalich with a rebound. And that's going to be a reach-in foul on Tonga. Hey, for the 6th straight year, you know, every NCAA Women's Championship game is on the networks of ESPN. For more information, go to ncaa.com. On the road to the Final Four in Phoenix this year. So it'll start tomorrow at 12:30 on ABC, a doubleheader, Michigan-Louisville, and then Texas-Kentucky. And then tomorrow night, South Carolina, Oklahoma, and TCU, Virginia.
TCU, Virginia. Both teams with great size on the front line. 2 fantastic guards, and Olivia Miles for TCU and Kamora Johnson for Virginia. It's gonna be a fun one.
We've got one more to go tonight on deck. LSU, led by Flau'jae Johnson, and the Duke Blue Devils with the All-American Toby Fournier.
UCLA guarding that ghost action on the top of the floor, which is when you try to set a screen, but really you slip out of it and fake like you're setting one, so you ghost out of it. I haven't seen them run that yet.
Under 4 to go.
That's why all these teams get together in June and July, so they can go through all their concepts and how you're going to guard stuff.
Well, and what a look, right, for Corey Close. I mean, they're all grad students and seniors, so they already all know the playbook. They've already been in big games throughout their careers. They all can score.
Under overhead strap, ice jam, switch, drop. The 8 different variations of a ball screen coverage, and Corey Close can call it on the fly.
Yep.
That's when you have experience, like you mentioned, the 6 seniors and grad students. And they've had big game experience, so they've been in situations.
Good ball movement here, ends up with Bilic. No, Dugalich, yes. Big night for her off the bench. And that last rebound gets her a double-double, 13 points, 10 boards. Rice with a steal. 3-on-1, Kiki. Second chance, yes, she's got 21 points. And now the Bruin faithful starting to feel it. Braun for 3 off the mark. Substitutions for both sides. And the starters heading to the bench for UCLA. And our star stories brought to you by United Airlines. Rice with her 4th career NCAA tournament 20-point game. Betts and Jaquez also in double digits. So is Dugalich. Well-balanced attack. Sienna Betts is out there. She'll whip it to the corner. Sienna offensive rebound and the putback.
So imposing on the offensive glass.
Her first basket of the night. And one opportunity here for Mara Braun. So the Golden Gopher seniors, Maya Battle. Grad students, Finau Tonga, Sophie Hart, Briley Glenn. All got playing time here tonight. Tracy Bershears, grad student off the bench for them. They've all had a big hand, Debbie, in starting to build this program back up to what it was a couple of decades ago. Vying for Big Ten championships, trying to make deep runs in the NCAA tournament.
Been some great coaches in the history of Minnesota basketball. Lindsay Whalen, Brenda Fries, Marlene Stallings, and of course Pam Borton, who took them to the Sweet 16 the last time in the Final Four. Look at Sophie. Go ahead and finish it, big girl. I know Sophie Hart, the kid plays with a lot of heart. You know, that's where the joy comes in. You know, that had an incredible experience under Dawn Plitzel-White. They're connected for the rest of their lives. They got the experience of playing in the barn, and that environment the other night was incredible in their upset win over Ole Miss. And they're going to be back. They'll be back.
And on this night, it belongs to UCLA. And another substitution here to get Gabriela Jaquez out of the game. And a standing O from the Bruin fans, as the #1 seed will win its 28th game in a row and advance to the Elite Eight. And here come the substitutions as well for the seniors and grad students on the Minnesota side. One final night for them to play together. And a season that program will look back on as being a big difference maker and a turning point. It's a held ball, will stay at this end.
Impressive second half, though, for UCLA. Yep. And you see the smiles. That's what you want to see when you're a competitor in this environment. Sure, you're going to be sad, but you are going to remember the good times. And 30 years from now, when you get together, you're not going to remember who scored all the points. You're going to remember the experience of being here.
Sienna Betts with the stick back for UCLA. And they will move on to meet either Duke or LSU. That one's coming up next. The Bruins set to join UConn and Notre Dame advancing today. They certainly stayed present in the moment. They've talked about a small circle. They've wanted it that way all year, whether it's their team meals, whether it's their travel party, whether it's who's around when they're practicing. They've kept it tight at UCLA. And they will take one more step deeper into this NCAA tournament. Minnesota grappling to the end. Nehemiah Holloway is into the game. So's Kenny Click. Bryn Senden out there. McKenna Christian from Minnesota. Zoe Bershears. Christina Caramuzzi for UCLA. Getting some minutes. So's Amanda Muse for the Bruins. 3-ball from Caramuzzi, the Swedish freshman. Has him jumping for joy on the UCLA side.
Go ahead, take a shot, play it out.
For 11th, 12th, and 13th point of the season, puts a capper on this one for the Bruins. And the #1 seed advances. With their 28th straight win, they are back in the Elite Eight for the second year in a row. So there's a look at the bracket. Advance the #1 seed. And they await the winner of our game coming up next here on ESPN. The 2-seed LSU and the 3-seed Duke. On the right side of your bracket, the lower right side, Texas, Kentucky, and Louisville, Michigan. Those games that will come up tomorrow afternoon on ABC. Four in double digits for UCLA, led by Kiki Rice with 21. Angela Dugalich, a double-double, 13 and 10, and the All-American Lauren Betts, 16 on 7 of 9 shooting as we send it over to Jess.